The story begins with a wounded man named Jack sitting in a parking lot surrounded by gang members who were there to kill him because he failed to do his job. He was supposed to take out a man called Payback, but instead he ended up killing that man's family and letting him escape. Out of nowhere, a large man wearing a shirt with a big cross on it shows up that it's Payback himself. He starts shooting at the gang to save Jack. Some of them are killed immediately, but one of the gang members has special powers and isn't harmed by the bullets. This forces Payback to fight him hand-to-hand. In the intense fight, Payback shows his strength and skill by breaking the man's leg and arm. He finishes off the last gangster by crushing his skull with his bare hands. Jack thinks Payback saved him out of kindness, but he's wrong. Payback only stopped the gangsters so he could take revenge himself. Jack had recently killed Payback's daughter, and Payback wanted to be the one to end Jack's life. He truly believes that getting rid of evil people is the right thing to do, even if it means killing them. So, Payback loads his gun and puts bullets straight into the head of Jack. But before he can go away, the police arrive and arrest him. In this world, many people have the power, like controlling electricity, extreme strength, or the ability to shoot deadly blasts. To deal with the threat, the government built the most secure and high-tech prison ever made, designed specifically to hold the most powerful and dangerous super criminals. Payback is now being sent to a high-security prison after being found guilty of killing around 40 to 50 people. He's been given a life sentence. The prison is run by a corrupt man named Walton Devlin, who prefers to be called the overseer instead of the warden. There are many rumors that he secretly kills prisoners who try to escape. But when asked about it on a news channel, Devlin completely denies the claims. According to Devlin, the prison wasn't built to reform criminals, but it was built to make them suffer. Soon, a group of new inmates arrives at the prison, including Payback, who is already well known among the other prisoners. A security officer named Captain Brody informs them that their powers are being controlled by a device called the Power Nullifying Equipment, PNE, which is locked onto each inmate's leg. Because of this device, no one inside the prison can use their abilities. Among the new inmates is someone who stands out, not because he's dangerous, but because he's different. His name is Diego Diaz, and his superpower lets him sense the emotions of people around him. Unlike the other violent criminals, Diego is gentle, and surviving in a place filled with killers won't be easy for him. When Officer Morales scans his abilities, she laughs and warns him to stay alert. When it's Payback's turn to be scanned, Morales realizes he's one of the most powerful inmates in the prison. That's scary now. Another guard mocks Payback, saying he doesn't seem as scary in real life as he does on TV. But when Payback gives him a cold, threatening look, the guard backs off quickly, which makes Payback laugh. Suddenly, Morales punches Payback in the stomach, making him bend on his knees. She has super strength, and she makes it clear that she won't tolerate any bad attitude. After that, the inmates are given their personal supplies and sent to their cells. Sometime later, Payback heads to the prison yard and comes across another inmate named Jim. Jim is the brother of someone Payback had killed earlier. Jim is already waiting for revenge, and without hesitation, the two get into a brutal fight. Payback throws several hard punches straight to Jim's face, making him bleed from his office. Devlin watches the scene happening on the CCTV screens. By watching this, he is clearly being entertained as he has popcorn on his table, and he is laughing too. Morales and the other guards just stand by, making no effort to stop the fight. Meanwhile, Diego is talking to another inmate named Gordon. Disturbed by the guards' inaction, he asks if they're really going to let Jim and Payback fight like that. Gordon calmly explains that the guards won't intervene unless one of them is about to die. During the fight, Jim lands and hits his elbow on Payback's nose, causing him to bleed. And without them, Payback then draws a cross on his face using his own blood. A powerful symbol just like the one on his shirt in the opening scene, showing that he's a man of faith. With a burst of strength, Payback turns the fight in his favor and gains the upper hand. Just as he's about to finish Jim off, the guards finally step in and shock both inmates with electric batons. Morales orders Payback to stand down, but he refuses, so she beats him into submission. After the fight, Gordon starts acting friendly with Diego as if they've known each other for a while. He gives Diego a quick tour of the prison and explains some basic rules. The first rule is simple. Never make a mess, especially in shared spaces. The second rule is to avoid getting involved in other prisoners' problems. If Diego gets caught doing something illegal, his sentence will be made longer. Lastly, he must never owe anyone anything. Not to the guards and not to other inmates. Gordon seems like a decent inmate who's hoping to earn parole through good behavior. He gives this advice to Diego, too, because he wants him to stay safe and out of trouble. Curious, Diego asks Gordon if the infamous inmate known as the Lobe is really being held here. The Lobe is said to have mind control powers. He once forced a mother to kill her entire family, even her own baby. When Diego brings him up, Gordon lowers his voice and points to a cell behind them. He says that's where the lobe is kept. Then he warns Diego never to mess with him. The lobe is the most dangerous criminal in the entire prison. If the power-nullifying equipment wasn't locked to his leg, he could be deadly. Just then, a huge mutant inmate walks by. He looks like a bodybuilder with a monster size. His name is Darius, and he is the lobe's right-hand man. Even Gordon becomes quiet and careful when Darius is near. At that same time, the lobe is being taken into a dark room for a parole hearing. His face is covered with a metal cage to stop him from using his expressions to control his mind. The lobe. The room is pitch black and the parole board sits hidden in the shadows. This is his fourth attempt at parole, but once again, the answer is no. His request is denied and he's told he must go through another psychological evaluation. The board says his anger problems make him a threat to the outside world. Frustrated and angry, the lobe curses and mocks the people behind the darkness, realizing he might never get out again. After some time, Devlin shows up and starts talking to the lobe about his upcoming retirement. He says that working in this prison never made him rich, that's why he makes a secret offer to the lobe. Now, you're going to give me your fortune, every single cent. He asks the lobe to transfer his hidden fortune into Devlin's account. It is said that the lobe has billions of fortune which he robbed using mind-controlling powers. In return of the money, Devlin promises to help him escape from the prison, but the lobe rejects the offer. Devlin mocks the lobe and calls him just another powerless prisoner now. He says that without his abilities, the lobe is nothing and should accept the deal. The lobe doesn't give a clear answer, but from the look on his face, it seems like he has no real choice but to go along with it. Meanwhile, at the prison clinic, Dr. Isabel is treating Payback and two other inmates. Payback has only minor injuries, but one of the other prisoners has a much worse injury as his head is completely cut off. Surprisingly, it's regenerating on its own due to its powers. Officer Morales walks in for her routine check. Soon after, Diego arrives, too. He's doing a cleaning shift in the clinic that day, while Diego is quietly picking up trash. Morales threatens to hurt him for no reason. Don't even think about it. Dr. Isabel watches this and clearly doesn't like it. Once Morales leaves, she apologizes to Diego. She tells him not everyone in the prison is cruel. There are still some people who care. Then she begins telling Diego about a few of the patients she's treating in the clinic. Just minutes later, Officer Morales returns to the clinic and tells Dr. Isabel that the lobe is ready for his psychological assessment. Dr. Isabel leaves to attend to the lobe, leaving Diego behind. As she focuses on the lobe, Payback regains his senses and sneaks up behind her without her noticing. He silently grabs her by the throat and lifts her into the air, choking her until she loses consciousness. Afterward, Payback turns his attention to the lobe, planning to kill him while the doctor is unconscious. However, the lobe remains calm. He doesn't panic and even smiles at Payback, completely not affected by the threat. Just as Payback is about to strike, Diego rushes in from behind and manages to hold Payback back long enough for a guard to arrive and stop him. In that moment, Diego saves the lobe's life, but he has broken the rule number 2, which is to never get in anyone else's trouble. After the incident, Diego becomes well known among the other prisoners. They respect him because many already disliked Payback, and now Diego stood up to him. As a token of appreciation, the prisoners offer Diego some of the sweet dishes from their meals. Gordon is also there and tells Diego that he did a great job. He advises Diego to use this newfound respect to his advantage as it will help him survive in prison. A little later, Darius approaches Diego at the table and tells him that his boss, the lobe, wants to speak with him. Diego follows Darius to the lobe's cell. When Diego arrives, the lobe thanks him for saving his life. He then offers Diego a job, which is to take Darius's place in the kitchen and provide him with all the supplies he needs. In return, the lobe promises that he will help Diego escape the prison once his plan is finished. Diego wants to get out, but he's unsure if working with the lobe is the right decision. Meanwhile, in the warden's office, Devlin's assistant, Felicia, warns him that making a deal with the lobe is dangerous. She says the lobby can never be trusted. Devlin, however, argues that as the warden of a prison for supervillains, he has to be worse than them. He tells Felicia that if she wants to become the next warden, she'll need to have the courage to be just as ruthless. To prove his point, Devlin shows her 2 letters. One is a recommendation letter for her to become the next warden after he retires. The other letter outlines her violations, which could disqualify her from the position entirely. Devlin tells her that how she acts will decide which letter he will send to the higher officials. The next day, after checking on Payback again, Isabel decides to release him from the clinic. This time, Payback is handcuffed to the hospital bed so he can't hurt the doctor. A guard is also present to watch over him. Meanwhile, Gordon is having his parole trial. He tries his best to show the interviewer that he's a changed man. He explains that he's never caused any trouble with other inmates and hasn't broken any rules. However, when the interviewer points out that Gordon is alone in the world, he never gets letters, phone calls, or visits from anyone. The interviewer says that Gordon isn't ready to be part of society again. This makes Gordon lose his temper and he curses the interviewer. The interviewer was waiting for this moment. Because of Gordon's bad attitude, his parole is denied and he's dragged out of the room. Behind the black wall, it seems that Devlin is the one rejecting the paroles, making sure no one can leave the prison. Gordon's failed parole hearing leaves him feeling hopeless. Later, at the cafeteria, Diego approaches him and asks if he's okay. Gordon responds that he's fine, though it's clear he's lost all hope. Just seconds later, Darius walks by their table and places a broken fork in front of Gordon. Gordon quickly uses the fork to unlock his PNE. Following a plan that's been set in motion, it's revealed that the Lobe had convinced Gordon to start a riot after his parole was rejected. Gordon thanks Diego for being his friend, then suddenly begins provoking the guard in the cafeteria. The guard notices that Gordon's pine is missing and immediately calls for backup. Then Gordon jumps onto a table and grabs a live electricity wire from the ceiling. He charges up himself using this electricity and smiles as the electricity flows through him. Having missed his powers for so long, Gordon then shoots a bolt of electricity at the guard, killing him instantly. The cafeteria erupts into chaos as other inmates flee the scene. Diego rushes to the guard and asks Gordon what he's done, but it's already too late. Gordon then overloads the prison's electricity supply, causing the entire facility to shut down. This is the signal for Jim and his group to begin the riot as planned by the Lobe. However, just as Payback and Jim are about to fight again, they are both electrocuted by the guards. Meanwhile, the Lobe remains calm and relaxed in his cell. Gordon takes advantage of the chaos and runs to the infirmary. He is hoping to hide there and eventually escape the prison. On the other hand, Felicia shows Devlin a feed of what happened in the cafeteria, revealing how Gordon got his powers back. After seeing this, Devlin orders a manhunt for Gordon all over the detention center. Meanwhile, Gordon is in the clinic, calmly looking out the window. Suddenly, he is hit hard on the head from behind. It's Officer Morales. She reports the situation to Devlin, who orders her to kill Gordon on the spot. At first, Morales hesitates, but with no other options, she follows the order. Gordon, having lost all hope, lets her kill him easily. Officer Morales punches Gordon mercilessly, her strong blows crushing his skull. Her expression shows that she doesn't want to do this, but she has no choice. The incident is covered up in the news with Devlin fabricating a story that Gordon tried to escape and fell to his death. One news anchor seems to support Devlin's version, but another one is suspicious, knowing that Devlin always creates false stories whenever someone dies in prison. Back at the prison, Diego is on a call with his wife when Officer Morales cuts it off and informs him that Devlin wants to speak with him in the solitary section next to the Lobe cell there. Devlin shows Diego the extreme solitary confinement cell to scare him. The atmosphere inside is like a thunderstorm, and it can kill a person in just 1 second. Devlin then questions Diego about what the Lobe asked him to do. Diego admits that the Lobe only asked him to take a shift in the kitchen and mentioned a name, carpal tunnel. After hearing this, Devlin lets Diego go, but warns him to report everything the Lobe tells him. If not, there could be dangerous consequences. Later, Devlin talks to the Lobe about the recent incident. The Lobe denies any involvement. Devlin gets angry and reminds the Lobe about their deal, saying if he doesn't fulfill it before Devlin's retirement, he'll be thrown into the extreme solitary confinement cell. The Lobe knows he can't escape the prison on his own, so he promises to get the money on Devlin's retirement day. However, he asks for the prison's Wi-Fi password in return. Devlin laughs at the request and leaves. Meanwhile, Felicia, Brody, and another officer are in the basement checking the electrical system. Since Diego mentioned the carpal tunnel, Devlin has ordered them to check all the prison tunnels. They discuss what happened to Gordon, and Felicia isn't happy that a prisoner was killed. Brody feels the same. But as the captain, he believes protecting the prison's image is more important, so killing Gordon was justified. One officer says he can fix the generator, but needs help in time. Felicia warns they should fix it quickly, especially before Devlin retires, as things might go wrong on that day. Later, the reconstruction of the basement and electrical system begins. When it's finished, Felicia reports to Devlin and asks about her promotion. Devlin says the board is still deciding, but reassures her that she has a good chance of becoming the next warden. As Devlin's retirement approaches, everyone in the prison is nervous, thinking something big might happen in the prison. Diego talks to the Lobe, asking what's really going on. He wants to escape the prison, but hasn't seen any signs yet. The Lobe tells him to relax and assures him that he'll get him out, but he needs to lay low until Friday, Devlin's last day on the job. The next morning, Felicia receives an email about Brody's candidacy for the next warden. Seeing this, she becomes furious and storms into Devlin's office. She confronts him, pointing out that he had promised her the candidacy. Devlin calmly responds that the board made the decision, not him, and assures her that there will be fair competition between her and Brody. Finally, Devlin's retirement day arrives, marking the moment of truth for both Felicia and Brody. As expected, Devlin plays his double game, and Brody is given the position of warden. Felicia is visibly disappointed. To make matters worse, Devlin recommends Felicia as Brody's assistant, calling her a valuable asset to the prison. After this announcement, Devlin goes straight to the Loeb's cell to get the money from him. He hands the Loeb a tablet and asks him to transfer the money. "I'll make sure you're all comfy. Don't worry." But instead of initiating the wire transfer, the Loeb hacks the tablet and disables all the PN devices of the prisoners. He had already obtained the Wi-Fi password from Devlin. And in a twist, Devlin had used the same password for all of the prison security systems, making it easy for the Loeb to disable them. The disabling of the PNE devices causes a massive riot in the prison. The prisoners, now free to use their powers, wreak havoc everywhere. Some throw fire from their mouths, others release poisonous gases. Some regenerate quickly, and others are exceptionally strong. The chaos escalates as everyone fights, showing the full extent of their abilities. The officers are forced to retreat and are unable to contain the riot, except for Officer Morales. Her own powers allow her to fight the rioting supervillains. Standing her ground in the midst of the chaos. Meanwhile, Diego, who's on shift at the clinic, begins to feel overwhelmed by the rush of emotions flooding his mind as his abilities return. Luckily, Dr. Isabel is there to help him calm down and regain control of his thoughts. Felicia, realizing the scale of the situation, warns Devlin about the riot. However, before he can act, he gets locked inside the Loeb's cell, which is another part of the Loeb's plan. The riot continues with prisoners taking down guards, killing those who stand in their way, and even fighting each other. In the midst of the chaos, Payback and Jim seize the opportunity to settle their long-standing rivalry. Jim, with his immense strength, gains the upper hand in the fight, but just as Jim is about to overpower Payback, another prisoner distracts Jim, allowing Payback to escape within the compound. Brody calls Felicia to ask for help. She tells him he needs to reset the electrical system in the basement to get the PNE devices working again. However, there's a problem. It's Jim who already holds a grudge against Brody. He notices him heading downstairs and decides to follow him. Once in the basement, Brody's connection with Felicia starts to cut out, making it hard for him to figure out which breaker to use for the restart of the electrical system. Things get worse when Jim also arrives and begins searching for him. Hearing someone coming, Brody quickly hides and tries to sneak away, but Jim catches up with no other option. Brody tries to fight back, but he can't land a single hit. Jim overpowers him and slams him against the wall. By chance, the breaker Brody needs is on that same wall. He recognizes it from before when he and his team used it to reset the system. Summoning all his strength, Brody manages to break free. He then smashes a nearby pipe, releasing gas directly into Jim's face. Blinded by the gas, Jim stumbles into the generator, causing it to short-circuit and kill him. Meanwhile, in the Loeb cell, the warden Devlin doesn't seem too concerned about the chaos in the prison. It's his last day on the job, and the only thing on his mind is the money he's getting from the deal with the Loeb. But then, the Loeb reveals a shocking truth. He was the one who shut down all the PN devices by hacking into the police security system using nothing more than the Wi-Fi password. The good thing for Devlin is that the Loeb has completely transferred his fortune into Devlin's account. That's why despite all the problems in the prison, Devlin still believes he's in control, especially now that the money has been transferred. What he doesn't realize is that the Loeb still has one final trick up his sleeve. As Devlin looks at the Loeb, he suddenly feels something strange happening in his mind. Without thinking, he punches the Loeb. After some time, the power comes back on and all the PNE devices are reactivated. The prisoners lose their powers and the riot comes to an end. Guards rush to the Loeb cell and unlock the door. Devlin immediately tells them to move the Loeb to extreme solitary confinement. Outside, Felicia is waiting. To her surprise, Devlin announces that she will be the new warden. He's had a change of heart, and the news makes Felicia genuinely happy. At the same time, Payback is seen sitting on top of a pile of dead inmates. These are victims he personally killed during the riot. He laughs in triumph over the destruction he caused. A few days later, Diego visits Isabel at the clinic. He tells her that he's being transferred to a different prison, the one where his empathy-based ability will be more helpful. The government has now started sorting prisoners based on their powers, and Diego no longer fits in here. At the same time, Felicia settles into her new role as warden. She takes down Devlin's nameplate from the office door and throws his old chest piece in the trash. The prison is now under her control. Meanwhile, Brody decides to resign and passes his rank of captain to Morales. In the final scene, Devlin arrives at the prison to pick up Darius, who has just been released, but there's a twist, which is that Devlin isn't really Devlin anymore. It turns out the Lobe has transferred his consciousness into Devlin's body, possibly at the moment when Devlin hit him back in the cell. That's why he transferred all the money into the bank account of Devlin and also then made the Lobe's body rot in solitary confinement. This was the reason he made Felicia the warden of the prison.